What's going on, guys? Mitch here, and today we're taking a look at this Shimano Dura-Ace R9200-12 cassette. This is a direct replacement for my Tarmac SL8. You guys know that I like to ride. I do a lot of it, and I always like to have a backup cassette on the shelf just to have floating around. So I'm going to show you the box, and hopefully there's some information that we want to kind of look at here. Couple options on this in terms of size, 1128 and 1130, which is what this is, and an 1134. As you can see, all three have the same bottom, small tooth count, but different top tooth count, and that's going to be your range. The middle gears on them are also different, and Shimano has a good layout on their website of that, but nothing too crazy. Some information on the side, but more than anything, let's crack this box open and do a quick unboxing, show the cassette, talk about some of the materials, and some feedback that I've had from running this on the Tarmac SL8 now for, I think I've done about 1,000 or 1,500 kilometers on the current configuration. So let's get in here. Hopefully this isn't too difficult to crack into first try. Sometimes you never know. Okay, there's the good stuff out of the way. And you ready? Oh, you ready? Oh, there's a cassette, man. How sick does that look? Nothing too crazy, like it's a cassette, right? Like these aren't meant to be on your display case in your office like mine will be for my friends and family to immediately admire when they come into my house. I'm obviously kidding, but yeah, you know what? When you have a bike with a drivetrain, it sometimes doesn't take much to really screw up one of these cassettes. They're very lightweight. The technology is superior, and say you're riding along, you get something caught in your chain, or a stick, or a rock, or something goes into it that flies up from a rider ahead of you, and maybe you ding, nail, get something stuck in between, and all of a sudden your cassette goes. And if anything, COVID has taught me to always have a backup chain, cassette, and chain rings. So anyway, this guy mounts on, I believe, the standard free hub body, or is it there? For some reason I had micro spline in my head, but that would be more on the mountain side, I imagine. So 12 speed, road only. Maybe we can get a little close up of the tip. That's what she said. Pretty cool. Always check your road usage. So for me, I actually learned a few years ago using SRAM Red. They have an app that tells you how much time you spend in each gear. So in the app, you put your top tooth, you put your cassette and drivetrain and entire configuration in, and you kind of find out where you spend your time. And for me, I always found that I really liked, I think it was the 17 or 19 tooth, or maybe it was like 15, 16, 17 is like where I really, really liked. And so I just, I haven't done all that on the Shimano system yet, but I figure, Shimano has an app. I don't know if I quite break it down as well, but I have a pretty good idea of where I'm going to be or what to look for. Anyway, let's get into this cassette. So as we can see, we have two different materials here. Going for the first, 6 gears or 7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gears, including the lock ring. And then the top 5. So the top 5 are all pinned together. And what I'm actually thinking of doing here is doing a video on a Dura-Ace versus SRAM Red comparison, because I've got another SRAM Red cassette from the SL7 here. A spare one, oddly. And I'd love to weigh them and do a video on that. I'll save that for probably a few weeks down the road. But I'll tell you this, I was not expecting this cassette to feel this good and this light. Really, really surprising. All pinned together with a cluster in the middle. Now, this little aluminum carrier is actually quite good, because when you pin this together and you make that part out of aluminum, you're not relying on the actual cogs or pieces of it to be full length down to the free hub body. And by doing that, you actually cut quite a bit of weight, because in order for this to last a long time, the materials need to be quite strong. And when they're quite strong, they're typically pretty heavy. So you put a carrier, you pin them down, you save quite a bit of weight that way. And really, you're looking at this as the gearing external to the carrier is all you're really carrying around. So it's brilliant, to be honest. The only problem is that if you have or wreck certain gears, as I mentioned earlier, this top 5, much like the entire SRAM cassette, is one go. So kind of is what it is. I don't know if many people are actually customizing these bottom chain rings at all, if they're doing anything there, but pretty cool nonetheless that they're all, I believe, individual, yeah, with spacers, which is kind of what Shimano does. You know, tried and true, it works. So in the past, I believe Shimano cassettes on the top part were all titanium, which I believe this is no different, and then steel down below. Now the cluster size obviously changes, but I'm just going to walk you through this particular cassette because I have it pulled up here on the bike.shimano website, just in case people are curious. So this is the 1130, so we start on the bottom. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, which is great. One tooth counts, which is exactly what you want in your high output gears. And then a jump to 19, 21, 24, 27, and then 30. So you got 3 tooth count and then down from a 1 tooth count. And it's always important to calculate those as a percentage. I am not an expert, okay, when it comes to drivetrain and overall calculations and all that kind of stuff. But I will say this, when you get a good app that shows what you're using, for how long you're using it, if you go to a 100K ride and the app is telling you, you know, JD, or you lanky cyclist, you spend this much time in this chainring, and then the next time gap down is one to the smaller tooth. You know, that's important information, especially if you can get a gear in between those two. So pretty cool, you know, all this new technology. But this particular cassette, nothing crazy. Titanium, steel, standard lock ring. This will work on a standard free hub body, which I believe, you know, if you've got Dura-Ace 11 speed, super easy to upgrade to this and change the drivetrain, which is always appreciated without having to go to like an XDR cassette body or a microspline cassette body, which is super cool. But that is the cassette. I will save the SRAM Red versus Dura-Ace 12 speed video for another week. Figured I'd want to show you guys this, and for any bike nerds out there looking at this stuff, feel free to ask me any questions or close-ups or whatever. But just from my perspective, you know, Hyperglide technology is awesome. It shifts fantastic compared to SRAM Red, I've already noticed. And that could be the cassette, it could be the chain, or it could be just the motor in the actual Dura-Ace mechanism that pushes the chain harder and faster. But it feels great. So don't have an issue, and just like looking at the gaps in the chainring for weight savings, and looking at that pinned together kind of aluminum carrier, it's just, you know what, there's a reason why they do things really, really well, and there's a reason why the Tour de France riders or the tour riders typically run a lot of Shimano versus SRAM. Also, fun fact, I picked this guy up on Black Friday for, I think, 35% off. So that's why this is going to be on display at Christmas dinner in the Mitch on Two Wheels household as a centerpiece, possibly as a coaster, haven't decided yet. But all joking aside, super sick cassette. Alright guys, well that's my unboxing and quick overview of this Dura-Ace 12-speed cassette. If you have any questions, leave them below. Otherwise, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And until next time, I will catch you guys down the road. Peace.